Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
Okay, freaks, we're joined on the start line by musician, singer, songwriter, drummer for Halestorm, out on tour, supporting the album Back from the Dead. We welcome Arejay Hale.
Wow, thank you for that amazing intro. I love, a lot of people don't add those credits to my name, so I really appreciate that. Thanks.
Arejay, let's go Beyond the Mic. Recorded during the pandemic. How did Back from the Dead challenge you creatively?
Oh my God, how did it not challenge me creatively? Well, first of all, I feel like every time we go in the studio, we have a little bit more experience. We feel a little more comfortable in that surrounding. But at the same time, like, we never want to get too comfortable. Like, we never want to feel like we're not challenging ourselves and we're not giving our audience something new and something fresh and creative while still staying true to our sound. It's like, I mean, but then again, it's always going to sound like us because it's us. Duh, you know, that's just how it goes. But during the pandemic, I started co-writing with Scott Stevens, who was he was one of two producers that worked on the album with us, him and Nick Resculenix, who we'd worked with before, and he's brilliant. Both of them are brilliant. But during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of writing with Scott, and I was programming drums for a lot of songs, and I was just kind of putting my own personality into it, and I would send him these crazy drum tracks, and he was like, "Oh my God, like, you can play all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is how I like to play." And he was like, "Oh man, like, we got to apply this type of playing to the new Halestorm record." So he started just throwing me curveballs out the window while I was tracking both him and Nick.
Nice.
Just like, they kept on telling me, like, "No, like, can you play more? Can you add some more double bass? Do a crazy, insane fill right here." And I'm just like, oh my, like, so, like, to put it plainly, it's the first time in my career that a producer has told me to play more. Usually the protocol in the studio is to simplify everything, dumb it down, leave a lot of space. But for this record in particular, Scott especially had the brilliant foresight saying that if we go in the studio and we just leave a lot of space and we kind of do our normal thing, the record would come out kind of sounding boring and kind of more generic. And I feel like the listeners of, fans of music, especially heavier music, they're kind of craving something a little bit more chaotic. They're craving that passionate complexity in the playing. You know, like, I feel like the average Halestorm fan is, they also love bands like Slipknot. They also love bands like Gojira, and not that, or Seven Dust, or not that we consider ourselves a metal band per se, but we wanted to kind of apply some of those chaotic moments because it provides so much energy and so much passion in the overall song. So for me, it was fun because I got to bring double bass back. Scott was like, "Okay, dust off your double pedal because I got some crazy ideas." I was like, "All right, I'm game, man. Let's go for it." So that was a fun challenge. Like, it's like riding a bike. I used to play double bass, and then I switched to single for years, and now I'm playing double bass again. So, I'm slowly kind of getting my chops back up to speed.
How did this insane pace challenge you? I mean, and then to have to recreate it when you go out on tour has to be challenging.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we had to do was I had to hit up my drum company, Pearl, and get more drums because we built a monster kit in the studio for me to play on, and now I had to recreate that setup for the live show. So it is much more physically demanding, but that's just all the more reason for me to really take my physical health tremendously seriously while I'm on tour, because I during the end of the last album cycle, we had been on the road for pretty much an entire decade nonstop from 2009 to 2019. So I felt like I was just physically deteriorating. My joints were hurting. But since the silver lining of being off the road for a year and a half really gave me a chance to focus on my physical health as well as mental health. And now I feel much more prepared and much more able to continue to be able to do this and to challenge myself to play more complex parts. So that's a big part of it for me, is just making sure that when I go on stage, I'm not in pain and I'm not in the mindset of like, oh God, this is going to hurt. I can hit the stage with confidence knowing that it's going to be fun and I'm going to enjoy it.
RJ, how did you spend your time during the pandemic to allow yourself to rest? I mean, you're a type A personality. You're always working. You're always on tour. How do you not go crazy being stuck at home?
Well, that was kind of why during the whole lockdown, all we could do was write. That's literally all we could do. So in order to stay busy and keep myself from going insane, that was the protocol. Like I was just texting and hitting up every single writer that I knew. I was writing with Scott Stevens, Blair Daly, Zach Malloy, Jake Shear, Taylor Carroll, like all these prominent writers, and it really helped me get through. And that was, but like I was saying earlier, the other thing that kind of helped me get through the lockdown was, not only my incredible girlfriend and my adorable dog, who I was really actually like another silver lining was that I kind of got to be like a normal person for once. And that kind of felt good. But you're right. You're so used to being in that hustle mode that like you can't sit still. I really have a hard time sitting still. So I guess the silver lining to the pandemic is that not only was I able to focus on my physical and mental health, but I also was able to strengthen myself as a songwriter because that's literally all I would do every single day is just write, or I write by myself. I was living in my girlfriend's little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and I turned in Nashville, and I turned the guest closet into a vocal booth. And but since then we moved. I finally got a place out there, and I kind of was able to build like a little makeshift studio. So yeah, that was just my protocol was songwriting. And if I needed an escape from that, then I would dive into my other passion, which is fragrance, which is perfumery. And I started like making fragrance content and stuff like that. So between those two things, it really helped me get through.
So tell me the truth. What's it like working with your big sister all the time? Did she bully you growing up?
Oh, the worst. The worst. No. No, I feel very blessed that I have a sibling that has so much respect and love for me as not only an artist and a fellow co-creator and creative partner, but also as a person. It's just I feel very fortunate that her and I amongst ourselves have no ego as far as it comes to having trust and faith in each other as songwriters and as co-creators and co-founders of this little thing that we call Halestorm. But also when we acquired our bandmates, Joe and Josh, they also had the same mentality, and they also have zero ego, and they're just very supportive and just very happy to just be a part of this camp. And which is, I guess we don't realize it because we're just in our own world, but I guess that is kind of a rare thing in a lot of cases.
It's your 5th album, and you've been touring for a while. But I want to know, do you prefer smaller venues, the festivals, stadium tours? Where do you feel the most juice?
That's like picking your favorite kid. Come on now. No,
Come on, RJ.
I really love all of them in their like. I know this is going to sound like a cop out answer, but they all have their own something special about them in their own way. I love that we're at this point now where we get a nice variety of different sized venues. We're starting to headline arenas in certain parts of the U.S. and UK and Europe, and but when we go to Australia or South America or Japan or New Zealand or things like that, we get to go back and play like smaller venues, very intimate venues, and we get to just get up in people's faces, and that's really fun in its sense. And then you also have the massive, crazy festivals, which just keep getting better and better because we're working our way further and further up on the bill. So by the time we hit the stage, it's just completely full as far as the eye can see. And there's no feeling like that. Like that is just an absolute rush. Prime example, though, we played the Fillmore in New Orleans last night, and that crowd of maybe 1,000 people, not even, like the energy that we were getting from them honestly kind of rivaled a lot of the festival crowds. So yeah, like to answer your question, it's hard to choose just one.
It's a cop-out, but I'll allow it.
It is. I'm sorry. I'm going to be that guy.
Now with your new band that's unfiltered, unbridled, and unsupervised.
Oh, yeah.
Kemikal Fire. What should people expect from this project?
you're going to get a very, very unfiltered version of my style of playing with no guardrails, basically. Like I was saying earlier, when I was writing with Scott and writing with Taylor and writing these Kemikal Fire songs, I kind of felt free to just kind of like, write drum parts that I just felt right, just straight from the heart, But with Halestorm, there's always kind of been a little bit of a compromise, which is good. You want to have the expertise of a producer, especially when I was younger and less experienced. It was definitely helpful for me to have that kind of more to have more coaching from a producer like that. But now that we've been doing it this long, I definitely feel more confident and more freer in my abilities to just be able to kind of adopt more of a style that is more fun for me to play. And it kind of spawned from writing Kemikal Fire stuff. So which is funny because the Kemikal Fire songs influenced the Halestorm songs of Back from the Dead, and now it's kind of a cyclical thing. But we're hoping to get some music out soon because we launched the socials, and now all we hear is just, "Where's the music? Where's the music?" And we're like, "Oh man," we had no idea that like there would be such a demand to like, and so many people would just be chomping at the bit to hear it. So I feel very grateful that a lot of people are very curious. So we're hoping to get some music out, and I can't wait for people to hear a different side of me. As just kind of writing songs directly from my own experiences and directly from the heart, so to speak, rather than trying to apply my skills as a writer through the lens of someone else singing it. So it's a fun project, and I'm both me and Taylor are very stoked on it, and Scott.
If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app. Arejay Hale from Halestorm joins us Beyond the Mic. It's time for the Rocking 88 Random Questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There is no pressure.
Oh, don't say that. That just puts pressure on me.
Okay, Arejay, what's the best Rick and Morty episode?
Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, this is going to be controversial. Obviously that's an impossible question because they're all so brilliant, but if I had to choose one right now, I think a more fair question would be, best Rick and Morty episode currently, that like the first one that pops in your mind. And I think that it may have to be Claw and Hoarder from season 4, which is about the slut dragons. And that is just, I'll be like, that's me and Emily, like that's like one of our favorite episodes. So, but I'm so glad that you also love Rick and Morty. We love it. It's one of our favorite shows ever.
Do you still have your first drum kit that you stole from your sister still?
I don't have that one, no. But I do have the first drum kit that my parents got me for Christmas when I was 5 years old. So,
what does one thing that Lizzie teases you about relentlessly?
She started adopting the nickname Glowworm for me about my green hair.
Oh my!
But I don't mind. It's fine. It's whatever.
What's the best thing about Emily?
Oh my God, that's too many things to. That's too many things. Oh, thanks for asking.
What's one? The first thing that comes to your mind?
I'll give you one thing I really greatly appreciate about Emily compared to a lot of the other previous relationships I was in is that she is fully independent and fully accepts what I do for a living, and never makes me feel even an ounce of grief or resentment for being on the road all the time. Like she actually is super supportive and super understanding of what I do for a living. And she understands that I'm going to be away from home a lot. But the other great thing about her is that she's always down to come out and hang out and hop on the bus with us and go on adventures all around the world. You know, we're going to go to, she's going to hop out for our Europe tour in November, and we're going to see Prague, and we're going to see Croatia and all these cool places. So yeah.
Do you do yoga? And if so, what's your favorite pose?
I don't do yoga, but I do like to meditate.
So what's your favorite song to listen to, but it isn't one of yours?
Oh, favorite song to listen to that isn't mine? Okay, well, again, there's way too many. I would have to say, though, currently, the one song that really gets stuck in my head and will not leave, and I think is just one of the best, incredibly written songs, from one of the most incredibly, I feel like a modern album that will go down in history as one of the best examples of just incredible, raw, and passionate songwriting is Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo. I love that song.
What's your most used phrase?
My most used phrase? Oh, gosh. Stay smelly. My catchphrase on my fragrance channel, Dr. Magnificent. I say that all the time.
And why is Oreo the best dog ever?
Oh my God, why isn't he the best dog ever? He's so chill. He's great. He's amazing. I love him, and I miss him.
It's time for the back half with our friend Arejay Hale from Halestorm Beyond the Mic. With the energy that percussion makes, music just doesn't have the same feeling without that energy of the drums. Who are 3 inspirational drummers of all time in your mind?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Look, my son's a percussionist studying at the University of Cincinnati, going to be a music teacher.
Oh, cool.
So he's got these 3 drummers that are in his inspirations. I just want to know what's yours, because he wants to learn, he wants to evolve. He's teaching these kids in middle school, and he wants to broaden their minds on what drumming really is.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for swearing. You can edit that out, right?
That's okay. That's what the is for.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Sorry, my bad. That was a tough one. Okay. So I would just have to say, I think that if you're going to educate yourself on the art of drums, then you have to kind of go back in time. I feel like 3 of the best drummers, I would have to say probably number 1 would be John Bonham.
Very cool.
And also number 1, I can't rank them. No, John Bonham, and also even going further back, I would say Buddy Rich, and because there's something I experienced last night in New Orleans, going out and seeing jazz band. I felt like I went to a mental gym the next day when we played the show. It felt like I was just like had this. Just, for some reason, just watching that like did something to my brain. It connected some sort of neuron in my brain that made me play a even better performance for my own set. So I would have to say, yeah, definitely experience some jazz. But even going further back from that, like check out some classic like New Orleans style jazz drumming is like absolutely mind blowing. And then if you're wanting to like develop a really good groove and good pocket, I would say a more modern drummer to check out would be someone like Questlove, who was a huge inspiration on me when I was really getting into hip hop drumming, and he's one of the greatest of all time as far as just groove and pocket. You know, he's one of them. So those would be my current 3 I'd say to check out.
Halestorm is not only a family with you and your sis, but the incredible crew that puts together the show every day, the roadies, etc. How do you feel about this extended family?
It's one of the reasons that we love doing this. It's one of the main reasons that it makes touring so enjoyable. It's not necessarily it's 90% who you're with. You know, the people that are in your camp, and luckily we're lucky to have such an incredible crew that are not only just all good, solid people, but also they have such a great team mentality. When things are going wrong, or if one crew member gets sick or has to go home for anything, like the rest of them are right there to pick up the slack. I've never seen such an efficient crew of people with just a real great team mentality. And that's why during the pandemic, we had the #RoadieStrong t-shirts, just to kind of promote the fact that, you know, oftentimes the people behind the scenes are the people that you don't see and that are often kind of go overlooked. And I think it was very important for us to say that out of everyone in the music world, the ones that suffered the most were the touring crew people, because they solely depend on being on the road. And when that was taken away from them, it was exceptionally hard. So a lot of bands were doing all that they could to just make sure that their crew was still able to pay their bills. And thank you to all the fans out there that helped to support and chip in and help them out. Because, they are the lifeblood of this whole thing. You know, we couldn't do the show without them.
It's time for One Big Question with Arejay Hale from Halestorm Beyond the Mic.
Oh, boy.
Arejay, what's one story from the road that makes you smile no matter what?
I don't think a lot of people know that when we were playing Lollapalooza in Sweden, and we were playing the night Billie Eilish was headlining. We were watching Billie Eilish, who just killed it. Absolutely incredible. But apparently the Foo Fighters are playing the next day. And we're standing side stage, and we look over to our left, and lo and behold, with all of their kids, is Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins just hanging out side stage right next to us. And we looked over at them, and they looked over at us, and we saw Dave with his kid on his shoulders, like walking up, and he was like, "Hey, are you guys?" And before he could finish the sentence, we were like, "Yes, we're Halestorm. Nice to meet you, Mr. Grohl." Yeah. And so we got to meet Dave, and we have a very similar circle. We both worked with the same producer, Nick Resculinix, and so we knew a lot of people that knew them, and we were like always on their radar, but we never actually crossed paths. So that was the one time that we got to meet Dave and Taylor, and I'm sorry, that would be the second time I met Taylor personally, but the first time that all of us got to interact with both Dave and Taylor. And I'm so grateful to this day that we got the opportunity. So, and everybody listening, do a shot for Taylor right now. Let's cheers him. God rest his soul. I miss that dude.
How did Taylor influence you?
I feel like both Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins. Who would have thought that like two of the greatest rock drummers of our generation were in the same band together? Crazy, right?
That's cool.
I would honestly put both of them in my drummers to check out list as well. When we were making our first record, it was when Echo's Silence, Patience, and Grace came out, and it was a heavier, more aggressive version of the Foo Fighters. And we got to see them at the Avalon doing like this little private club show, and it was just mind blowing. So I think it was inevitable that seeing them and being such huge fans of that album, and of course being huge fans of them for since they came out, essentially, I think that a lot of that influence definitely seeped its way onto our first record, and sequentially every record after that.
He loves the freedom of Kemikal Fire. Lizzie calls him Glowworm, and he wants you to stay smelly. We thank Arejay Hale from Halestorm for taking the time to talk with us today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking the time. It's so good to get to chat. This honestly was so fun.
And that, my friends...
Thank you for the really hard questions.
Let me finish this, RJ. And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic.